Welcome to Thank You Half Hour. I'm your host, Tom Christopher Warren. I am thrilled that you've decided to tune in because we have one of my very dearest friends as our guest today, Broadway star Kate Baldwin. Kate, how are you? Thank you for doing
great.
this.
Oh, thank you for having me.
We've just spent a fair amount of time navigating tech in art in a tech world. And I think, coming out of the pandemic and Zooming for so long, you'd think that we would all, I don't know, be a little bit more.
To do this better.
Yeah, well, I don't even, frankly, want to be able to do it better, but I do want to be able to do it better. You know what I mean?
Listen, I have a force field around me that breaks everything electronic. I'm the worst. I inherited it from my father. We have the same force field around me. I married a man who is a technophile who loves everything technology. So I try to balance it out that way. And unfortunately, my child is pretty good with all things electronic, but me, no. This is why I sing songs for a living.
I've actually heard of this force field, this terrifying force field that just makes everything glitch around you. But I couldn't be more thrilled that we've figured it out. And here you are.
Yay.
Here I am.
Yay.
You're at home in New Jersey, and I'm here in Columbus, Ohio, with our brand new podcast. We've just started recording this week. So thank you for your patience. And you'll see the five of you who are listening, my in-laws probably, you'll see that we'll be doing this using sometimes Zoom, sometimes in person. Sometimes I'll be out in the world with a kid of my own. God help me navigating the tech on my own. That should prove
you can do it.
Yeah, we'll have some good stories from it. If nothing else, if no content, we'll definitely have some laughs. But so we're doing this podcast, and it's all sort of. And I know you spoke to Andrew Lippa the other day, who was a guest for me earlier in the week. And this all kind of sprung up from wanting to hear my friends tell their stories. All of us have been doing this for a minute now and have been doing it at all different levels and all over the globe and have such great stories. And I thought, what a great opportunity to share them with folks, who are perhaps new in the industry, up and coming, who are theater goers, theater lovers, whatever. So I'm anxious to hear your tales. Kate and I have known each other. Okay, do you remember when we actually met?
It wasn't Harmony?
It wasn't Harmony. It wasn't Harmony. It was, we did a New Voices concert at Symphony Space for Annette and Joel. And I can't remember which one because they all sort of blur together. But I remember, and you were probably a minute and a half out of college. And I remember Joel saying to me, there's a mutual friend of ours, Joel Fram, musical director, said, "Oh, you're going to love this."
Music directing Merrily Roll Along right now.
Perhaps you've heard of it on the Broadway. Yeah, exactly. And he said, "You're going to love this girl. She's great." And, in typical Symphony Space fashion, we didn't hear each other until the day of the concert. And I remember saying to him afterwards, I may have told you this, I would listen to that woman sing the phone book. There is nothing that isn't compelling about her storytelling. And you've somehow managed to get better and more specific in the years since. It's really remarkable. So, and listeners, you'll know Kate from Tony-nominated roles on Broadway in Finian's Rainbow, and most recently Hello, Dolly, and of course Big Fish and Off-Broadway and John and Jen and Giant. Just a remarkable career, and now a family gal. I was telling you earlier, I've coined a new term for you. Because I'm in my car earlier saying,
I love it.
Practicing, Kate Baldwin, mega Broadway star, and mom and wife, and I meant to say Pokemon fan, and it came out Pokemon, and I thought
it's perfect.
That's it, right?
Yeah,
Pokemon.
It's perfect.
You
Pokemon.
and Colin sat and talked me through the world, the sort of Pokemon 101 a few months ago. Remember that? Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
God.
He showed me all the cards and the differences between, the value differentials and the holographs and holograph.
You're a saint.
It was amazing.
So patient. That's so nice of you.
No,
it's really its own world, right? It has rules. It has categories. It has very specific powers and types. And if you're not prepared, it can really throw you for a loop and take all your time. And
well, I think a Pokemon
and all the brain cells that you have left.
Right. But you seem to have. You found the joy in it.
Well, he's my child and he's the love of my life. This 12-year-old boy. So that's one of the joys of being a parent is you get to see the world through your child's eyes. So I get into what he gets into, you know what I mean? And if he were into baseball or, computers, which he is, or what have you, I'll be into that too. Yeah,
Does Colin sing?
he does.
Yeah.
Yeah, he auditioned for the select chorus and he got chosen to be in the select chorus.
That's amazing. And so do they perform separately from like the general, the big
They
chorus?
do. Yeah, they do.
That's
Yeah.
exciting. What part is he singing?
Soprano.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
He's
That's
still soprano. I fear that when his voice changes, which will be momentarily,
yeah.
he will then have to sing a harmony line. And I know I'm not good with harmony. And so I wonder if he will be good with harmony. His dad is good with harmony.
I was going to say,
So
yeah.
there's some hope there that maybe he'll, and you know what? He's played piano for 5 years. And so he's pretty musically adept and savvy, and he knows how things work. But if ever I want to drive him from a room, all I have to do is open my mouth and sing, and he leaves. He's like, I can't handle it. No,
Stop it.
Don't you? You're not allowed to sing. Yeah, right. Yeah. Especially if I sing something high and loud, like, he's like, stop it, and then he leaves.
You have to explain that the general public pays top dollar for that voice, and he has access to it.
I've been using that since he was 3. And I said, what do you think pays for your chicken nuggets? Mommy's voice. Let's go.
So, okay. How old is Colin? 12 now?
He's 12. Yeah.
Bananas. How old were you when you're from Illinois? Yeah.
Well, I was born in Evanston. That's right. But I was raised outside of Milwaukee, Wisconsin. We moved there when I was 7. So when I think of my childhood, I think of Milwaukee. Yeah.
Okay. So tours come through Milwaukee. You also have, was Skylight there when you were young?
Skylight Music Theater. Yep.
Great
and the
regional
Milwaukee
theater,
Rep.
The Rep.
And there was a place called the Melody Top once upon a time that was sort of halfway between Milwaukee and Chicago.
Okay.
And we would also go down to the Goodman and see things at the Goodman. And there were tours that came through. I remember distinctly a production of Hair that came through the PAC and smelling marijuana for the first time, being like, wait, what is this? This is a musical? Wait a minute. Because my whole world had been Gilbert and Sullivan and Rodgers and Hammerstein and, and also Cats. I was obsessed when I was 7 years old. I saw Cats at the Shubert Theatre in Chicago and thought that, oh my God, there were adults dressed as cats, jumping and singing and dancing around in life-size trash. And I thought it looked like fun. And I was like, that's a job? I want to do that.
I had a friend in this most recent Broadway revival, and I hadn't seen Cats in many years, and I'm watching it, and intermission comes, and I text her, I just don't understand. Why are you all so mean to Grisabella? I don't understand what she did. And she texted back, she betrayed the tribe. And there is a
real story behind every cat moment.
Yes. Yeah. I don't know if that story translates necessarily in my brain.
But it's important to them that they know.
Absolutely.
And I, as a kid, understood something was going on there, and I wanted to know what it was. Yeah. I still don't know. I was never a cat. Have you ever been in this show? No.
Kate. We've met.
Listen. Every now and then, like Bob Dussault was like Old Deuteronomy, and one of his best stories is he'd like walk down the aisle, because his entrance was from the house, and a kid pointed at him and said, "Look, Mom, a beaver." And she's like, "No, son, the name of the show is Cats, sir."
Beavers.
Yeah.
Very different show, Beavers.
Also, my agent, before he was an agent, worked at the front of house at the Winter Garden where Cats played for like 18 years or whatever. And he tells a story of 2 ladies who were coming to see the show.
Yeah, I love this story.
One of whom had seen it before and one of whom had not. So the one who had seen it before was explaining it to the one who had not. And she said, well, it's grown men and women singing and dancing and jumping around dressed as cats. One cat is not having a very good day. So in order to cheer her, they put her on a tire and blow her through the roof. That's Cats.
I mean, in a nutshell, kinda.
That's it. Yeah.
I did audition for Cats at the Winter Garden. They wanted to bring me in, and I said, I'm not a dancer at all. Don't worry, we're looking for actors first. I said, yeah, I don't believe you. I've seen the show and you are not. No, trust us. Okay. So I go in and they sing us first. So I sing first, and I sing, of course, My Romance, because what could be more appropriate for Cats? I don't know what I was thinking. And I got kept, and then we had to learn the dance combination. And of course it was me and these remarkable male dancers. on the semi, thrust stage of the Winter Garden with giant trash around us.
Oh,
And weirdly enough, I was cut virtually immediately. I think we got, kitty, 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 kitty. And then they were like, we're good, Tom. We've seen everything.
Kitty, kitty. Those are the moves. Kitty,
there,
kitty.
kitty, kitty, kitty left, kitty, kitty right. Richard Stafford.
Listen,
I remember this vividly.
I like your kitty, kitty right now.
Thank
I think if you could do it from a chair, you'd be in.
Listen, hire me. If Lion King could use me in a chair, I would never have left. Trust and believe. What have you seen anything recently that you love, or is there anything you're looking forward to seeing? You're so close to New York. You're there all the time.
I just saw Merrily. I saw Merrily last week, and it was as great as everybody says it is.
Was it?
And I don't know if you have been obsessed with that show like I was. We were all obsessed with it in college. I went to Northwestern University, and we would put up scenes from Merrily precisely because it was about young people who were fascinated, and we were young people, and we were fascinated by disillusionment and middle age and bitterness and how you can hurt each other, right? Because that's why you're in theater school to begin with. You're like, what is life? How does this work? Why are people so sad? And what do I do with all my big feelings too? I guess I'll be a theater major at Northwestern.
Right.
And so we would put up scenes from Merrily, mostly because we knew something about it was great, but we didn't know quite how to make it work. And in previous productions, notably the first Broadway production, it didn't work either. So it was kind of a puzzle for us. And because we were such, musical theater nerds and smart kids, we wanted to figure out the puzzle. So we always put up scenes from Merrily. I can't tell you how many times I've sung both Not a Day Goes By and Now You Know, and Opening Doors, all of it.
Did you memorize
friends.
the Mary part of Opening Doors?
Oh yeah. Sure
I could never. I played Charlie and could never get word perfect. No, I had the words in my typewriter.
Perfect is no. Perfect isn't a thing. But
word perfect.
The rush of doing that is such fun.
Well, it's also, I think it's how we create art, right? It's a piece of art that is a little meta because it's talking about how we write a musical. And we didn't have Glee back then. We didn't have Smash. There wasn't anything that was sort of accessible for middle America to understand what we do, kind of. And not that that's what Merrily is about necessarily, but it does use that as part of the storytelling tools. And I loved it. It's hard structurally. It is a puzzle, and it's hard to for those of you who don't know Merrily, my in-laws who are listening, the story is told backwards in time, and so you meet these three protagonists as three old friends, and then by the end of the play, you see how they became friends as young people. And it's hard to invest in a reprise of a song before hearing the song. It's hard to invest in the falling apart of a marriage when you've not invested yet in the building of the love. But that's just a part of its brilliance and a part of its jigsaw puzzle-ness of it. I saw this production was done in the West End and filmed for, it was pro shot and shown in movie theaters for a weekend here in the States. I don't know, just 7 years ago. And I was lucky enough to see it. And I feel like it's the closest we've ever seen to this show just nailing it. I feel like it resonates beautifully.
Yes, I agree. I think it lands in a very successful way, and you feel the pain that everybody of this friendship that has fallen apart, and the unrealized dreams, or how you get what you want, but it's not what you want anymore, and you start wanting something else, which happens in life. And so that comes through really clearly in this particular production. And I can't tell you. I mean, I knew what songs were missing. And you just said reprise. You can't hear a reprise before you hear a song. I was like, oh yeah, well, we didn't in this production. They changed. Sonia Friedman is the director. Is it not Sonia? Maria Friedman, Maria Friedman is the director, and she's directed it brilliantly. And you're as an audience member, because there were audience members there who were coming because Daniel Radcliffe is in it, and Jonathan Groff was in, and they didn't know anything about the show. Whereas I've lived with the show for, my whole adult life.
Yeah.
But they were seeing it, experiencing it for the first time, and had no preconceived notions of what it should be or how it should be. And so there were gasps and stuff. And it's like, what, you guys didn't know that? I knew that was, I mean, of course I knew. But so it was just that gasp was a marker, a testament to how well the story comes across and is being told. So whatever Maria Friedman did, I can't tell you what changes she made. I know she made changes, edits. They are very successful, and it's as good as everybody says it is. Go see it if you can afford it. Woo.
And she has such a long history with Sondheim, and such a rich history of knowing him, working with him, working for him. And I had heard her on interviews saying that this was really her love letter to him. And it comes across from what I understand. I can't wait to see it. That cast.
Yeah. I saw her in the West End in Passion. I don't know about you, but Passion came out when I was in high school, first year college, something like that. And that show, I imprinted itself in my heart, and I will forever love Passion. I know it's something, it's like one of those shows, like you either love it or you hate it.
I love it.
I love it. Yep. I love it, love it, love it. And I saw Maria Friedman do it in the West End. And she made sense of the role of Fosca. Not that Donna Murphy didn't. She won a Tony Award for it and was brilliant. And I love everything about the way she did it. But Maria Friedman had a completely different take on it. And there's one line, I'm such a nerd. There's one line in like the garden sequence where she says, or they're walking through the garden. And he says, Captain, will you give my cousin your arm? And she says, I know how to walk. My cousin likes to treat me like a child. And so Maria Friedman's version of Fosca was as a child. Like she was like just a little kid who didn't understand, who didn't know any better, didn't know that you didn't follow a person out in the middle of the night when they were going across, or like onto the train. She didn't know that that's not how you behave as a person in love. Yeah. And so it took all of this sort of like any sort of sinister undertone that could be misinterpreted out of it because she was just a little kid. And it was a brilliant interpretation of that role, which I love.
Just devastating. I remember seeing it originally and not being able to talk afterwards. And I feel like it's a one act, right? Is it done without an intermission?
Probably.
I feel like it was. I feel like I had sat there absorbing all of the information without an opportunity to regroup and like process.
There was no applause. There was like no applause breaks. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Right. No
and so I had to and I was by myself, and I just had to think about it. And I remember wandering the streets of New York to just sort of unpack what I had just seen, because normally I'm an opinionated fella and I come out of a show and I'm eager to like unpack it. And I wasn't ready. That was that and Grand Hotel are the two times that I've been like, I got to sit with this. I have to understand this and see it repeatedly.
Yeah.
Did we do the 12-hour Sondheim wall-to-wall concert
together?
Wall-to-wall.
Yeah. Again, orchestrated by, or, put together by Joel Fram.
Genius.
Who would call me the night before and be like, Maren Maisie can't do this song. Can you come in and do it? And I'll be like, yeah, sure, fine. Or like, so-and-so's kid has a soccer game and they decided they can't come and do it. I was like, okay, great, I'll do it. I was in throughout wall-to-wall Sondheim, but the thing I remember most was I had to do Miller's Son.
I remember it too.
And it got recorded. And I can hear in the recording where I almost say the wrong word. And also it's Rob Berman playing. Yeah. And he starts at one tempo. And then all of a sudden I'm like, let's go at this tempo. And he follows me and we just go too fast. It's just too fast. And then I almost say the wrong word and then it's over. Good night.
And I remember it being thrilling. Nothing but thrilling, saying no one ever gets to sing this song again, friends. Did you sing in the Merrily stuff with me?
Yeah. I think I did.
God. Okay.
Or did we do Folly stuff?
Folly stuff. We did Folly stuff.
We did Folly stuff. Yeah.
Yep. You and Emily Lesser were the two youngs, right?
That's right.
Alex, no. Who was with you? Was Michael Arden was me. Was with me.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then the original youngs were the matures. And then
that's right.
I got my Maren Maisie sick phone call the night before.
Yeah.
It was Andrew Lippa was sick and couldn't sing Charlie in Opening Doors. And so there I was.
Yes.
Yeah, it was crazy. It was crazy. My husband was there watching and he said it was surreal. It was like you're watching George Hearn and Angela Lansbury and Barbara Cook and Patti LuPone and this concert.
And Donna.
Donna, right. It was 12 hours long. of all
Yeah.
Sondheim, and they always do these 12-hour concerts of Beethoven or Bach or whatever, and people, it's free, so people come and they stay for an hour and then they leave. Well, this was free and nobody
Or
left. Or
yeah, they
they
come and they
don't
bring a
go.
picnic and they never leave. Exactly.
Yep. So you
I
had this
remember Steve getting up and like running to the bathroom and to say and saying like, hold it, like I don't want to miss anything. And
I
he would get up and like people would part and he would run to the bathroom and then he would run back to his seat. Like that's just how I remember it.
it's just
Yeah, because he wanted to be there for all of it too.
otherworldly. And then they had
Yeah.
interviews. I feel
Yeah.
like they interviewed Hal Prince. Just a remarkable
It
time.
was.
It's
It
completely
was.
remarkable.
That's where I met Joss Whedon. So Joss Whedon is created Buffy the Vampire Slayer, which was one of my very favorite TV shows, and he also has created a bunch of other things. But he's a huge Sondheim fan, and he was backstage, and nobody was talking to him. So my husband, who's a big nerd, went over and was like, "Hey, Joss Whedon, will you sign this piece of paper for me so I have your autograph?" And then all of a sudden, we were at the diner with Joss Whedon. We're having hamburgers at the Key West Diner or
Stop
whatever
it.
it
Did you
was
really?
across the street. Yeah, we did.
That's amazing. That is amazing.
He loves musical theater. He loves musical theater.
That's crazy. When we
Yeah.
don't think of the intersections between our nerdy
Yeah.
world and the
Yeah.
world of normies outside of it. And
Normies.
it always surprises me when somebody from another medium, it's like, oh, I dig Sondheim. You do?
Yeah.
I mean, you should.
Right.
Everyone should. That's so funny. What
No, I love it. Yeah, when I worked in a candy store all throughout college, the woman who owned the candy store loved jazz music, and she loved Sondheim. So we were allowed to play Sondheim, and I would play Sweeney Todd, Worst Pies in London, while I was making the cookies every morning that were going to go on sale. So, but I would stop Sweeney Todd before any customers came in, so they wouldn't literally hear a customer, and freak out. While they were there to buy their like cookies and
Sure.
chocolates and and Jelly Bellies. Yeah.
Is Love It a role you want to play?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Oh, I would love to. Yes. And I know a good Sweeney Todd. His name is Graham Rowett.
No, I was
He's
just
ready.
going to say, let's get the two of you. I'm
what a
just
dream.
about old enough to play the judge, so let's make it happen.
Okay, let's do it.
What informs the work you decide to do now? The logistics, your family, and the normal stuff. But in terms of like the world we're in and being a mom, what factors into the work that you want to do, that you gravitate towards?
Yeah, I'm gonna say pre-pandemic it was maybe one thing. Post-pandemic, it's a completely different thing.
Interesting.
Post-pandemic, it is what makes you happy. Do the thing that makes you happy. And if somebody thinks it's not fancy enough or it's not important enough, fuck them. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
it's just I want to do the things that I want to do with the people I want to do them with. And if that means it's a regional theater or it's a concert here or there or it's a reading or because I'm kind of over the it's not fancy enough kind of thing. There are so many talented, wonderful people, and really, Tom, this is why we're having this wonderful talk. It's because like the show people are the best people, and I want to be with the fun show people. Like being isolated and away from our community for 3 years. I'm going to call it 3 years,
Sure.
Even though it really wasn't. It was like a year and a half. But I felt so lonely, and like I didn't realize up until then that I just want to be around the other weirdos.
Yeah.
Because they make me feel not so weird. They also make me feel inspired and entertained, and like the world is a shining, wonderful place full of people who feel the same things I feel, and as deeply as I feel them, and want to talk about how they're affected by them. Because the civilians don't necessarily have that kind of a focus in their life. When we do, and we let it out with one another.
Oh, Dolly, isn't the world a wonderful place? Right?
Oh, it is. The world is full of wonderful things.
Yeah.
It's true. Yeah, it's true. I think that's what, as I had my dressing room from 21 years ago from Thorley Meyer Millie over to my backyard just 2 days ago to have snacks in the middle of the day. And there are my friends, and we were together on that show for just a very short amount of time, but we've remained close. And it's like you fall back into it your friendships. And even though our lives have changed and we've moved on and work has changed and families have changed and even locations have changed. They all came to New Jersey to sit around in my backyard. I treasure that time in my life. I treasure those friendships that were made then, and I treasure what they are now, because we have evolved and evolved together. So,
well, you built those friendships. Not that building friendships at this stage in my life is more or less valid, but friendships that I made 20 years ago were formative 30 years ago. They were really formative. We were all in the same bubble coming up at the same time. And as you said, life happens. We take care of aging parents. We have children. We have love and loss, and life happens. And we're weird theater folk. We form these families, these microcosms that are instantaneous, and we value our friends in a way that I think non-artists don't necessarily have access to. Every time we start a show,
because we're singing love songs to each other, we're looking deeply into each other's eyes, and our lines are, about love or, friendship or hurt. And then you go back to your dressing room and you literally get naked next to one another. You know what I mean? And and you see each other 8 times a week, and you see each other on good days, on bad days, and the ins and outs, and what happens to a person's, body, what kind of, allergy medication they have to take, or how often they run their, pair of orange tights, or, and intimate things about one another in this, because you're squashed together and you're dealing with life problems, life activities that you don't have to deal with when you are sitting in an office and doing, respectable work.
Right. I wouldn't have it any other way. I have no other skills.
Same.
It's not like the world has offered me so many choices other than performing.
I think I could do other things, but I think I like this best. I really do. I don't think I'd last very long out there.
What would you do?
Don't. During the pandemic, I also toyed with and learned about raising money, fundraising for not-for-profits.
Did you?
I work with a wonderful not-for-profit that my friend Georgia Stitt founded called Maestra, maestramusic.org. And so I've sat on her advisory board and learned about fundraising and grant writing and development and cultivating donors and stewarding wonderful supporters. And in a time when, our not-for-profit theaters, our regional theaters that have been so wonderfully in service of great American cities are feeling the crunch of people not coming back. Ticket buyers that have not returned. It's something like 40% have fallen off since after the pandemic. It hurts my heart and soul. And I want to do everything I can to help those that are struggling. I just read that, St. Louis rep is down $2.5 million. So it's a crisis. It's a crisis in our industry. It's one that I think is going to force a lot of change to happen. And I'm kind of excited to see what happens. I'm not going to say all gloom and doom, because I think in order to remain vital and to remain relevant, theater must adapt to what audiences are looking for in terms of a customer experience, in terms of like an artistic experience, in terms of how it all flows, how it all works for them. So Mike Nichols said in his book, when anybody sits down to watch a show, when you're in the audience at a show, the 2 questions the audiences have are, what is the show about and who is it for? And the answer to both questions should be me. This is about me and it's for me. That's what each audience member needs to feel. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
So you got to take that approach to creating art, to marketing it, to putting it up in whatever space you're doing it. So I always keep that in mind now. I didn't have that mentality before the pandemic. I do now. I do have that mentality of like, how do I convey to you? How does this merrily roll along serve the people in the audience in the best most effective, like how does that story get to them in the most profound insightful way?
Yeah. And the pandemic really just accelerated a shift that was already happening in commercial theater, where,
Mhm.
everything exploding, getting bigger and bigger and bigger, costs, expenditures, ticket prices, going to see a show with a family,
Yeah.
you're spending $1,000, $1,500.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
now, out of a global pandemic, expectations have shifted. People are considering things they weren't considering, their safety, the safety of their children, the safety of those around them. And
Yes.
yet we still seem to be, inflating all of these costs. And at some point, theater will shift. The commercial theater will have to shift. There's nowhere else to go. We've hit the ceiling or we're very close to it. And it's the regional theaters that are the brave ones. They're the ones that are doing the work on the front lines. And to see the deflation of ticket buyers is devastating. It's devastating because that's where you cut your teeth. You were the queen of regional theater before your
That
Broadway
was my
debut.
graduate school. Yeah, I
Absolutely.
didn't go to grad school. That was my graduate school, was getting cast and learning on the job.
Yep.
And I had great teachers.
Yeah.
I had wonderful leaders of regional theaters like Darko Treshnik and
Yeah.
Molly Smith and Mark Hobie and Nikki Martin. You know what I mean? I had people who were fabulous, Mark Lamos,
Yeah.
fabulous, Susan Schulman, great teachers,
Yeah.
great directors, great thinkers, and not to categorize anything as well, summer stock can be so quick,
Yeah.
right? And what can you learn in that you can learn lots of good skills. You can learn how to work quickly.
Fast. Yeah.
We've all been to encores and seen the incredible work that people are able to do in 11 days. But like those sit down regional shows that happened for 3 months at a time, I got to grow. I got to have directors come back and say, well, okay, well, now think about this. Okay, I see what you're doing here. This has grown, or this is, you've shifted this. So I really valued my
Yeah.
time doing regional theater. I thought it really did prepare me. It taught me how to be a leading lady. Because
Yeah.
guess what, Tom? I was never an ingenue. I don't know. Have we met? I mean, I'm like 9 feet tall. I have a low speaking voice. I'm kind of bossy. I was never, ever, ever going to be an ingenue.
What you would never be is a
Even at 22
vapid
years old.
ingenue. You know what I mean? You would be the
Yeah.
wisest, the most poised, graceful ingenue ever. And again, the phone
Well,
book. I'd pay.
I always got cast to cover an older woman. I always got cast to cover
Yeah.
somebody who was 10 years older than me,
Yeah.
which was great because I got to watch how they did it. And I had 2 understudy experiences, one that, both were equally as helpful. One was understudying somebody who was very successful at navigating all of the things that she had to navigate as a leading lady of a musical.
Yep.
And I went, oh, that's how you do it. And then one who was less successful at navigating all the things that she had to navigate as a leading lady. And I was like, ooh, that's how not to do it. So I had the benefit of sitting in the corner and sort of being in the room and
Yeah.
watching and learning.
It is the best way to learn. And you got to play Irene Malloy, what, 10 years apart? 8 years apart?
Yeah. Yeah, I think the first time I played Irene was 2005, and then Broadway was 2017.
Yeah. And you were, obviously I saw you in both, equally stunning, but to watch you understand that woman, that widow at this stage in your life, you know what I mean? It's just, it's different. It has so much weight. You were remarkable. That whole cast was, you know how I feel about
Thank
that
you so much.
production.
I know. I have a funny story about that production too, because when I was just talking about this audition the other day. I went in and auditioned for the Broadway revival starring Bette Midler. And I knew that Gavin had been cast as Cornelius. And I was like, oh, well, Gavin and I are the same age. He's nice and tall. Maybe I do have a shot at this because, my first response to everything is like, well, they're not going to cast me. Why would they want me? No. I talk myself out of it. And I think, oh, well, she'd be better at this, or that person would do this well, or it's not me. So I went and I auditioned and they offered it to me the same day, which never, ever, ever happens. But it happened in this particular case because I love Irene Malloy and I had a good, strong point of view on her. I knew the role. I knew it in my bones. I didn't have to hold a piece of paper. I knew the song. I just went in there and said, hey guys, how you doing? And they said, would you like to do this? I said, yes. And then later I went for a costume fitting with the genius Santo Laquasto,
Unreal.
who was doing costumes and sets like he has done for every Woody Allen movie, for my favorite Ragtime. He did all those costumes. Like he's just a legend, right? So I'm like, oh my God, I'm so excited. I'm going to go to this, costume fitting with Santo. And he shows me the costume rendering, the beautiful dress that he has. It's a line drawing of what it will look like. And, the idea that Jerry Zaks and I, talked about was that she is a woman who is scandalous to other women who, because she's a business owner and she is keeping it up, even though her husband is gone. And she dresses in a way that is more forthright, right? So she's not a Gibson girl. And so he showed me this beautiful dress. I thought, great. Then he showed me the fabric that he was going to use, and it was pink. And because I'd played this role 12 years prior, I was a much younger woman and was now doing it at the ripe old age of 41. I was like, why am I going to be wearing a pink dress? And I started to say to Santo, I don't want anybody to think that I'm trying to be younger than I am. I don't want anybody to think that I'm too old for this part. I don't want anybody to think of her as an ingenue, because that's not how I think of her. And I started to well up with tears, Tom, like my eye. And if you've ever like been in the case where like you just don't cry, and then it just happens when you just want nothing else but to like keep your cool. That's what happened. So all the tears just spilled out. And I said, a pink dress to me means ingenue. Irene Malloy is not an ingenue. She's not. She's lived a life. This is the second chapter. I'm 41. I'm proud of being 41. I'm going to do this part as a 41-year-old. And I remember saying, can't I wear blue? And then he goes, well, and he's very dear and very quiet. He goes, well, Bet is wearing blue. I was like, Bet's wearing blue.
Yeah.
So then he's like, why don't I show you the set? And he showed me what the hat shop was going to look like. And it was pink and lavender. And it was like lattice work and lace curtains and feathers and cherries and hats and ribbons. That's like a fourth grader's bedroom, like what I would have loved to have had as my bedroom as in fourth grade, and so he showed me that, and he went, this is what the set's going to look like. And then he showed me a fabric that he was going to use for Minnie Faye's dress, Beanie Feldstein's dress.
Yes, brilliant.
And it was this magenta, like saturated pink color. And I said, well, what's that doing? I was like, well, what would you call that color? And he looked at me with his deadpan and he just goes, liverwurst. I would call it liverwurst. And then we both started laughing. He's like, okay, so next to liverwurst and next to purple, pink, violet, fourth grade girl bedroom, you are not going to look like you're wearing a pink dress. You're going to look like he's like, you're going to look golden. You're going to look fleshy. You're kind of going to look a little naked. And that's kind of what we want, because she's this scandalous lady, right? And I was like, oh, I get it now. I get it. You're a genius. This isn't a pink. Although if you see that dress on a hanger by itself, it's a pink dress. But if you put it in the set next to Beanie, next to Gavin's horrible brown wool suit, it looks like she is just made of light. And of course he's in love with her. And of course he sees her and is like, I love Irene Malloy. You know what I mean? And that's what you want the audience to think too when she walks on stage. Oh, I like this lady. I want to hear what she has to say. I want to spend more time with her. She doesn't look like she's in mourning.
It's such a magnificent piece, isn't it? I worked on it last summer, and it occurred to me that of the 6 principal roles, 3 of them had been widowed or widowered. And
that's right.
What is this next chapter about at 40, at 60? What does the next chapter look like? And the determination to move forward. That whole monologue in the middle of before the parade passes by about deciding to rejoin the human race. I can't hear it without crying. I'm incapable. We would talk about it in rehearsal and I would well up and I would start to cry. I mean, my kids know that's all I do. And I don't have children, my students, for my in-laws who are listening. It's a remarkable story, and it's a remarkable retelling of the matchmaker of the Wilder piece. And I love it. I love it. What is next for you? What are you looking forward to seeing next?
What am I looking forward to seeing next?
Yeah.
Well, my friend Danny Goldstein and I think, are going to go see I Can Get It For You Wholesale. I've
Fun.
heard great things about it. It's directed by Trip Cullman, who's a friend of both of ours.
Great.
It stars Santino Fontana, who I adore.
Yep.
And it's John Weidman has rewritten or revised his father's book, Jerome
Great.
Weidman's book. And so they're doing it at a classic stage company.
Yep.
So that's what I'm curious about next. Yeah, that's what I want to go see.
Nice.
Yeah. But on Monday night, I'm going to go sing a song. Norbert Leo Butz was in my living room just this morning.
Like you do.
He's doing, like you do. It's Maplewood. Come on, it's Maplewood. You know, you used to live here. You know what it's like. He's doing a stint of the songs that he wrote during the pandemic. I don't know if you know that he composes on guitar.
No.
Oh, on piano too. Like he writes. Yeah. It's all very Norbert though. It's very bluesy, very country, very folky, that kind of sound. He grew up on like gospel music too. I mean, it's crazy what his voice can do and where his taste leads him. But he's like, hey, will you come sing Time Stops from Big Fish? And I was like, yeah, Twist My Arm. And people love that song. Sure, I'll come sing it. And then he's like, also, I have this Bonnie Raitt song that I'm in love with. I was like, is it Angel from Montgomery? Because I'll sing that song. And so that's what we're going to do. And he's backing me up. He's singing harmony and we're doing it on guitar. It's going to be really good.
Oh,
that's going to be Monday.
Where?
Yeah.
Where's that happening?
54 Below. 54 Below.
Such a great space.
Broadway's living room.
Yeah. Did they build themselves as Broadway's living room? They should.
Well, once upon a time they did. Maybe they haven't in a while, but but they did. They call it Broadway. Well, or some reviewer called it Broadway's living room because you feel so comfy, cozy, close to the person who's singing there.
It's an incredible
space.
Like it. You know what I saw last week that I loved? Our pal Sandy Rustin's play, The Cottage. Did you get to see it?
Yes, so fun. Yes, I saw it.
Fluffy
Great
and
performances
sexy.
In it too.
That cast.
So much fun.
Just a group of, the whole thing was people at the top of their game. Cast, designers, direction, top of their game.
Yeah. Yeah. So much fun. I had a great time. And the audience had a great time too. They lost their minds. I think it's closing on Sunday.
I know. Well, with that cast, they're all busy. They're booked and blessed. Laura Bell's going to do this show next week, I think, for me.
Oh, fabulous.
Yeah.
Oh, she was so good in it. She was so good in The Cottage.
Yeah. She was my dainty June at Paper Mill.
Oh my
400 years ago.
Goodness.
Yeah. Not that she's 400. I'm 400. It's weird math. But
No. Yeah, exactly. Oh my goodness. I bet you have stories. I want to do Gypsy someday too.
Yeah.
I bet. Have you ever played Herbie?
No. And it's becoming a dream role now that I'm at my age. I'm like, I'm realizing that
I want to play Rose. I know everybody sees me as a beautiful soprano, like a soft person, but like, I kind of am curious about like how I could access a Mama Rose.
Yeah.
I would love to do that.
Well, I think when you see a Mama Rose who
it's such a great role.
It's one of the best written in the canon. And when you see someone who really could have done it and just didn't have access to it, like who you look is gorgeous and does have the goods and really could have, if she hadn't gotten pregnant with Louise, she could have done it, but everything was taken away. It was different, right? Yeah. All right, so we're going to do Gypsy. Great. What else did we decide we're doing? Oh, we're going to do Ragtime. I think we decided we want to do Ragtime.
Oh, yes. We need to do Ragtime.
And we have to do everything with Graham, obviously. So it has to have a role for Graham. Graham played father in Ragtime. He'd be magnificent.
No, not yet. Okay. I know he would. Absolutely. See, we have this thing where we've got a child. And so when we work, we kind of really do have to take turns. A lot of theaters, not a lot of theaters. I shouldn't, we've got offers all the time. No, but oftentimes people say, oh, well, we'll employ the both of you. And I'm always like, yeah, that's nice. But who's going to raise the child? Then,
well, get the kid in the show too.
As a fever. Yeah. I mean, you saw his dance audition.
Amazing. Absolutely amazing. Also 9 feet tall. I can't get over how long he is. Your family.
Okay. So there was a local community theater production. I think I told you this when I saw you last week, but I'll tell it to your in-laws now.
Right.
There's a local theater production. They were doing Oliver at the community theater, like a couple towns over. And I said, hey, and a bunch of Colin's friends are going to audition and be in it. And I said, do you want to audition to be in Fagin's gang? Like, no pressure. You don't have to play Oliver or like one of the lead roles. Like, but it might be fun just to be in the show with all your pals. He goes, well, how much are they going to pay me? And I said, it's community theater, so you'll likely have to pay them. There'll likely be a fee for joining. And he was like, what? He looks at, he goes, you get paid to do theater. Dad gets paid to do theater.
Fair.
Why wouldn't I get paid to do theater? It's like, okay, sure. And then we talked a little bit more about it. I go, what would I need to do? And I said, well, the shows would happen on Saturdays and Sundays. He was like, what? It'll be on the weekend? No way. I'm not doing that. Great. Decision made.
There you go.
Priorities.
Pokemon all the way.
What's it doing for my bank account? What's it doing for my social life? Neither is good. Never mind.
Oh, my friend, I got to wrap us up. I hate that. This has been wonderful.
Oh, no.
Thank you. No. I know. All three of my conversations lately have been thank you hour-ish instead of thank you half hour. May have to change the name of the show, but we'll get there. But what a joy to see you and to talk to you and to see Graham briefly before we started.
Yes. Well, thank you for inviting me. It's always so much fun to talk to you, and I should do it more often. We should get together more.
I would love nothing more. I love you.
Thank you. Half hour part 2.
Exactly.
Right, love you.
Bye, honey.
Bye.
Boxland Media. Think big,